hens. Even though there were a couple of cocktails that had that name, they weren't just the right fit. So what we did was we teamed up with Balcones Distilling here in Waco. Balcones makes world famous whiskey, and they've only been doing so for a few years, but they're absolutely phenomenal. And they've got a mixologist. And so I contacted him and asked him, can you make some cocktails for us based on these criteria? And what he produced was just outstanding. So we have really good entries for the 3 French hens and the 10 Lords a Leaping.
What did he come up with?
He came up with, for the 3 French hens, a drink involving their rumble, which is kind of like their rum, but it's not made from sugarcane. It's made from figs and wild honey and turbinado brown sugar. So rumble is already a great drink, but then he added, I think it was egg white and ammonin syrup to create the 3 French hens, and it's really good. For the 10 Lords of Leaping, he used Texas Fire Brimstone, which is one of their smokier offerings, and it's a really sort of macho, manly kind of drink to have. So it fits perfectly with the Lords a Leaping theme.
If I have to experiment, I think that sounds like the best edge case thing to go after. So overall, as you're doing this, as you're sampling the different drinks, something you mentioned the last time we were talking, when you came away from Drinking with the Saints, you talked about understanding the history of the church and how different holidays are conceived of, and that gave you a different perspective on that. Did you come away with any insights in doing the research for this book and the cocktails and seeing how they connect with the liturgical calendar and the lives of saints?
I did, and I definitely walked away with the impression that earlier generations of Christians knew how to celebrate Christmas much better than we do. Because now, in a sense, we sort of blow things even before the big day. You know, we have the sort of raucous office parties during December, or we do this sort of non-stop shopping binge between Thanksgiving and Christmas, that we have this sort of frenetic displacement of energy before Christmas, and then Christmas comes and we celebrate it, and then we go back to work, and then maybe we celebrate again for New Year's Day, and then we go back to work. Whereas with the older model, there was restraint all throughout Advent. There was drinking during Advent, but it was restrained. You were still working, you were getting things done, you were preparing for Christmas. And then during Christmas, no one worked during the whole 12 days of Christmas. It was 12 days of abstaining from manual labor. They got all the firewood chopped and all the pigs slaughtered and everything else before Christmas time, so that they would have this block of peace and rest and leisure. And that just strikes me as so much more civilized.
Yeah, from what I understand historically, the 20th and 21st centuries are very different in America from how historically Christmas was practiced and even how it is in other parts of the world. In Mexico, for example, there is the celebration of Epiphany on January 6th, and then they still celebrate in February Candlemas, which I forget how it connects to the other holidays, but in Victorian England, if there were any decorations, they would be put up, I think, at the very earliest, December 25th, and would be up till early February, till Candlemas. You probably know better than I do how that works. How does that all connect together?
No, you're absolutely right. Candlemas is the feast of the purification of the Blessed Virgin Mary, which is celebrated on February 2nd, because that is exactly 40 days after the birth of Jesus, which is what St. Luke tells us is the time that Mary went to the temple, both to present her son and to be ritually purified. So Candlemas is, according to many, is the official end of the Christmas season, 40 days after Christmas Day. And you're right about the decorations. Again, we've got things so different. You start seeing Christmas trees in late November in the United States, whereas only 100 years ago, nobody put their Christmas tree up until December 24th. You decorated the tree on Christmas Eve. If you may recall, this is one of the elements of the plot of the Nutcracker. And then that stayed up for probably at least the 12 days of Christmas. So you celebrated the Christmas tree and you celebrated around the Christmas tree during the 12 days of Christmas. And then probably around Epiphany, you would take it down. But now you see Christmas trees in the dumpster on December 26th.
Hey everyone, Scott here. One more brief word from our sponsors. Right. This is something that historically has caused terrible calamity. And I think this is something that all parts of society could get to, religious or not, because what's happened is that January it's a hangover of a month where it's cold, everything that's nice and cheerful, and the parties are all over. There's nothing outside. It's bleak. It's the darkest month of the year. There's no celebration to be had. So it's turned into the Christmas Carol before Ebenezer Scrooge gets visited and Bob Cratchit's office is cold and bleak. That's what January is.
So true.
I don't know if you have a Candlemas cocktail anywhere tucked in, but if there's a way to kind of keep the spirit going into February, maybe that would link things into the historical practice of Christmas.
Oh, absolutely. And we do not have a holiday drink for every day of January, but we do have an entry on Candlemas as the last entry of the book. So there is a way of keeping alive that holiday merriment, at least until February 2nd.
Right. And then by that point, things sort of move along with the year. So what's in the Candlemas drink?
By that point, yeah, you need to let go at that point.
Yeah.
We had a couple things for Candlemas. The easiest one was something called the Roman candle, and it's a flaming drink. It's a very minty drink made with creme de menthe. But Candlemas was called Candlemas because it was short for Candles Mass. There was a mass and a candlelight procession and a blessing of candles that would take place on this day. So we figured it was appropriate to have a flaming drink for February 2nd.
Yeah, and again, in Mexico, and I would imagine other parts of Latin America, and probably in other places as well, they celebrate this in February. So you can participate and have the drink as well.
Absolutely.
Well, we alluded to Lent earlier, and thanks for discussing all these things, Michael. Do you have ideas in the future of other themes that you could focus drinks around if you want to continue this book series?
Well, one book that I am working on is Drinking with Your Patron Saints. So far, I've organized the saints around their calendar day, but it would be fun to think of the saints in terms of the various causes and groups that they patronize. And so you could, as a fireman, know which saint to toast to. Like the patron of firemen is Saint Florian. And so you would have a drink anytime you got together with your coworkers. So that's something that's in the works.
Well, this is the most hands-on application of patristics I think I've ever heard of. I don't know I don't know if Baylor has a hotel and restaurant management department, but if you could cross-list a master's course of yours with mixology, you might really be onto something.
That's right. I'll check with the administration.
All right. Well, the book is Drinking with St. Nick, Christmas Cocktails for Sinners and Saints. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, that was the episode for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. First of all, I'd like to thank the Knowlton's Rangers, and especially our spy masters, Baron Fraser, Carl from Norway, Chris from Maine, Moondoggy from Ohio, and Rick Knowlton, and I'll explain what that means in a second. If you want to support the show and help me keep producing this content, there are 4 easy ways for you to do it. 1, subscribe to the show and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you want to do that, you can go to historyunpluggedpodcast.com, and there you'll find instructions. 2, join our Facebook group, which you can find if you just search for History Unplugged. And please like and share posts that I put up about new episodes. 3, submit a question to me so that I can answer it on air. You can email me at info@historyonthenet.com or leave a voicemail. And again, go to historyunpluggedpodcast.com and you'll find instructions. Lastly, and I think this one is the best, is to become one of the Knowlton's Rangers. The Knowlton's Rangers were an elite reconnaissance and espionage detachment of the Continental Army in the Revolutionary War, but it's also the name of the History Unplugged membership program. Learn how to join by going to patreon.com/unplugged. So here's what you get if you become one of the Knowlton's Rangers. If you join at the level of Scout, you can get early access to new podcast episodes, along with enjoying absolutely every single episode of the History Unplugged podcast ad-free. All 270 and counting episodes. If you join at the level of Intelligence Officer, you can also get access to premium episodes, like a multi-part series on the life of Audie Murphy, the most decorated combat soldier in World War II, or the 10-part series Ottoman Lives, a series that looks at the cast of characters that made up the Ottoman Empire, such as the Sultan, the Eunuch, the harem servant girl, and the soldier. And finally, if you join at the level of Spy Master, you get all the same stuff as the Scouts and Intelligence Officers, but you also get a shout-out to you and or your business at the end of each episode, a 3-pack of hardcover history books, plus you'll be put at the very front of the line for me to answer your question about history, and I can guarantee I will dedicate an episode that's about an hour long or so to your question. Sign up at patreon.com/unplugged. Again, that's patreon.com/unplugged. Anyway, those are the ways you can help out the show. Thank you so much for your support. Thanks for listening to the History Unplugged podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show to get your daily dose of all things history related, from ancient Greece to the Cold War. We'll see you next time at the History Unplugged podcast.